Hello there. I'm History of the Flash, but you can call me JD.
And ahoy, I'm the comic book hunter, also known as just Hunter.
And I'm Comic Book Savior, also known as Caleb.
That's right. Caleb's back. Welcome to A Hero Story, episode 126. I actually remember the episode number because I think I'm the host that someone has to remember it.
It's mathematical.
This week we're joined by Caleb in replacement of our beloved Harper, who was a little busy this week. So, but Caleb is the original co-host as he killed him. He said A Hero Story is my show.
It is I am now the new co-host.
but luckily from beyond the grave, Harper has sent us a voice message to be played on the show, and we actually haven't listened to it, so we're gonna hope that it's suitable for children. It's gonna get rough with Ruffalo for a quick minute, but you want to play it for the audience, Hunter?
Yeah, so Harper actually just sent me this. It hasn't even been 5 minutes, so I haven't heard this yet. So Harper, where are you?
Hello everyone, it's me, Mark fucking Ruffalo. I can't be on the podcast this week, and it's definitely not because I'm in hell. Yes, you heard that correctly. I'm definitely not in hell, and it definitely wasn't Stan Lee who put me here. Hey there, true believers. I just wanted to tell you that I'm definitely not the devil. If I were the devil, I definitely wouldn't take Mark Ruffalo to hell. And that's enough said. Excelsior.
Yep. So before we actually started recording the episode, we warned Caleb that this is kind of what Harper's shtick is with the voices, and it was played up exactly to what we expected it to be. So oh man,
poor Mark.
Good job, Harper. But anyway, welcome to A Hero Story, episode 126. We got a pretty decent sized comic week. Believe it or not, the guest host is the person who read the most amount of comics. This week we have a lot of Future State. There's Future State Legion of Superheroes. There's Future State Aquaman. There's Future State
Dark Detective. Yeah, Dark Detective.
There's
Imperious Lex.
Imperious Lex.
I think that's it for Future State.
That's it for Future State. Right?
Well, Batman Superman also came out. I know that, but I didn't
get that one. Yeah.
Is that Future State or no?
No, yeah, it was. I was like, oh, there's another one? No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm good. The cover's just Superman and an alley in Gotham.
Oh yeah, that's a filler comic. There's also Strange Adventures, and there is, on the Marvel side of things, Daredevil and Spider-Man. So it's a pretty packed comic week, but of course, as always, we'll start with the comic book news that came out this week, because there's a decent amount of it and some pretty interesting stuff this week. Isn't that right, Hunter?
Yeah, we'll start off with the live action news, just go over it and give our thoughts on it. Mostly the comic news is interesting this week, which is good, but for live action news, just quick things right off the bat. Lady Sif is returning for Thor Love and Thunder. She was in Thor 1 and 2. I don't think she was in Thor Ragnarok.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't care about Lady Sif. I was like, okay.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So like I was seeing everyone like tweet it. I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, for her returning for Thor 4, all I want from her is her reaction to Ragnarok, to all of her friends dying. That's what I want to see. But besides that, I don't care. Like, all right. I might be pronouncing his last name wrong. Lycurgo was casted for Tim Drake in Titans. He is in the Batman. He plays a thug who cries in front of Robert Pattinson. That's the only role I know him from.
Multiverse.
Yeah, that's what I saw, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's confirmed." It's like, no, they're probably just reusing the same guy.
It's probably because he auditioned and he got the job.
Yeah. I'm excited. It'll be cool. I don't really think I see people freaking out about it, but it's whatever. It's really weird because it's like it's Titans.
Well, that's the thing about Titans. It's so weird in my mind that, like, if you would have told me like 5 or 6 years ago, like especially when I was really getting into comics for the first time, that like there'll be a live action TV show with Dick Grayson, Barbara Gordon, and Tim Drake, and you won't even watch it, I'd be like, no way, that's impossible. Of course I'd watch it. And here I am not watching it.
Caleb, are you a Titans fan?
No.
Okay.
No. It's pretty, like, it's not even painful, like whatever, accuracy, whatever, but it's just like watching it, I'm like, people get paid for this. People get like sit down and like, and it's very frustrating because I feel like it's not very difficult to make it good. You know? Like tighten up the script a little bit more budget. Like it's not that hard, but they just doesn't seem like they give a shit.
It honestly feels like a superhero version of Riverdale to me, like based on like the kind of acting,
that's
like,
accurate.
plots and some of the dialogue sometimes where I'm like, why did this get made?
Yeah.
But even some of the actors, like there's all the rumors that Brendan, who plays Dick Grayson, is going to be quitting soon, or even just today as a recording, I believe I saw a screenshot of Ryan Potter on Twitter being asked a question like, "Oh, are you excited for Beast Boys arc in season 3?" And he said, "What arc? What story arc?" He did nothing in season 2. I actually watched all of season 2 except for the finale. I just heard too many bad things. I'm like, you know what?
Same.
Yeah, and I watched all of season 1 too. Unfortunately, there's moments I like. I think the Robin suit's really good.
Yeah, if it's not drowned in the blue filter.
Yeah, that's another bad. I think for the most part, the casting has been good. It's just the characters are really, really badly written.
Yeah, the writing's just really poor. And it's kind of funny because it is like Jeff Johns, Akiva, the dude that did Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
It's like, why is he greenlighting projects for DC?
Yeah.
Shouldn't he have been left in 1997 with Schwarzenegger's ice puns?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just a weird combination, and I just don't care. If I will watch season 3 if it gets like a lot of love. If people are saying this is actually really good, there's a turning point, I will check it up then. Otherwise, you're gonna have to pay me.
I wouldn't count on it, but I will watch, clips that come out of like maybe Tim will say like a line from the comics, and I'll be like, he said it. He said it.
Maybe we'll get like a scene of him and Dick on a train blindfolded, and be like, hey, it's a reference to the Thing.
Chuck Dixon, nice, very well done, Hunter. I'm very proud of that reference.
I know my
thing. I like that. That's the like where the bar is at now. So it's like if they just like passively allude to it, I'll be like, okay, good enough.
If he says the word V on the show and he once said the word V in the comics, I'll be very happy.
Like, I feel like even then, even though the suits have been good, I just feel like the budget won't be there for like a brand new Robin suit. I could just see him wearing the regular Robin suit that we've seen, which is good, but it's also just like reused.
It would be cool if they did the 1 year later suit, the black and orange.
I could actually, Caleb, I could see that.
I was gonna give him a hoodie with like an R on it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's a reference to We Are Robin.
Yeah, I'm gonna blow my brains out if that's gonna happen.
It's just, when does this come out? Do we know?
Dude, I didn't even realize it was 2021. Like I had to put that in perspective. Flash was filming in April, and I'm just like, when's that again?
Oh yeah, that is news. I forgot about that. Flash is filming in April.
It's not filming ever, okay? It's not happening.
I remember reading that it's filming in March 2019.
I remember reading that it's in production March 2016, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, that meant I remember March 2016 was great. I was about to get my driver's license. BBS was coming out. Life was good, but it could be better. And then like Flash was going into production, and then Flash went through another director, and it was going to go into production, and they got another director, and then it was going to go into production, and then it got a fourth director, and now it's really going to go into production, and then COVID hit, but it's going to go into production again, and it's like,
this movie's not coming out.
Maybe we should just call it quits on this movie.
Yeah, I've been saying the same thing over the Black Adam.
Batman into the Batverse featuring the Flash.
Yeah, Ezra Miller is being treated like The Rock with Black Adam, who's cast as Black Adam in 2007. And then delay after delay after delay, and now it's apparently coming out, but we still haven't even seen an official look. We've seen art, but we haven't seen actual Dwayne Johnson in the suit. So I feel like it's gonna be the same for Flash. Like we're gonna hear a lot of news.
I feel like at this point, these movies are just like fronts for money laundering schemes. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like they sign up an actor, and it's like we're just gonna throw a ton of money into this project, and it's just gonna go nowhere.
Yeah,
because that's just like the history for like the last 20 years. Is they just throw millions of dollars at projects and then just evaporates. And they're like, yeah, fell apart.
Yeah, and they keep announcing
Deadshot movie starring Will Smith coming to a theater near you very soon.
Black Hawk by Steven Spielberg. Like it's like what
Booster Gold and Blue Beetle coming soon.
They literally just have the board members just signing the paperwork like once a week. Like someone send it to Discussing Film on Twitter. Mm-hmm.
And still no Man of Steel 2 or any like
you know that meme where it's like it's like You know that meme where it's like the guy with like the darker face and he's like, "Yes, honey." I feel like that's like Warner Brothers like green lighting DC movies. It's like time for another useless DC movie. Yes, honey.
Like at least with the MCU, it feels like they care. Like yeah, they're throwing money at a ton of things, but it feels like they're actually caring and they're setting up something. They're always setting something up. I'm so excited for WandaVision tonight because I know it's going to set up something, whether that be the next episode or something new in the MCU later on. It's just for DC, it's like, okay, yeah, Wonder Woman came out, that existed, that's okay, but it didn't do anything.
Faded from my mind instantly.
It was
impressive.
I was more of a Wonder Woman movie fan before this movie came out. I was so excited, and then
yeah, I watched it for Christmas with my dad, and we were like, we could have done worse things, I guess. It wasn't.
That fight scene was cool, but I just wish it was more than 1 minute and 45 seconds.
Yeah, it's just so weird because the state of all of it right now is just like it's really weird because you'd expect that because so much production now is in COVID because we're now a year into this, that it'd be a lot more inspired, be a lot more like rallying instead of just feeling so like boring.
Yeah, you know? Like you had the time to go over this.
yeah, like there's a lot you could do to really make people feel better, not just read something and go like, whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Go check out the Wonder Woman 84 review on A Hero Story. No, it was, that movie was just, it wasn't it. The more I think about it, the more I dislike it. And I hate that feeling in a movie, but like if I see like a scene, someone posts a scene on Instagram, I'm like, oh, I didn't like that. Like,
yeah,
that's not Steve's body. No.
Yeah, that's the worst part. But yeah, we've kind of said everything we had to say about that. Moving on with the news, Jim Starlin said that who is Jim Starlin being a co-creator for Thanos? He recently said that Thanos will be in Eternals. However, did he mean the Eternals comic or the Eternals movie? It wasn't really clear in the interview. So, because Thanos appeared in the comic.
Was he in bad graces with like the movie people? Is that something I thought? Like maybe royalties or something?
I feel like he would be.
It sounds like a Jim Starlin thing to do.
He straight up just said, yeah, Thanos is going to be in Eternals. And he was in the last Eternals comic. Like the last page was Thanos coming up out from behind a corner. So showing that Thanos is alive. But in the movies, Eternals is going to take place over 1,000 years. So it's going to have a lot of time jumps. The start of the movie is likely going to be like 1,000 years ago. We could see a young Thanos at some point, but Thanos is dead in continuity. So
I hope he's farming. I hope it's just like a 13-year-old Thanos just like sitting there shucking corn.
I hope it's 30 minutes of the movie. Just that.
They're like, what are you doing? He's just sitting there. He's like, I'm shucking corn. And they're like, okay, who are you? He's just talking about life. And they're like, okay, bye, Thanos. He's like, okay,
he picks up like a corn and he's like, man, balance. That's cool, right?
Just very subtle foreshadowing.
He drops one of the corns and he's like, I'm so sorry, little piece of corn. And he's prepping all of his Endgame and Infinity War lines.
He's just getting ready.
Who are those tears for? Not for my corn.
It's like snowing outside. It's like, oh, you forgot your glove, and gives him one yellow glove. Puts on. This is I don't know what to expect for Eternals. I really don't.
I'm excited, but I heard that, oh God, what is it? One of the actresses, I heard Kevin Feige wasn't happy with or whatever, and they cut screen time. Oh, I don't know how true it is. It was, but it was, I heard it from a dude on Twitter. So this is a source of, dude, trust me. But the guy did say a while ago about Charlie Cox. He's been right on actually a decent amount of stuff. So I've just taken it with a little bit of grain of salt. Yeah. But I was like, huh.
Interesting.
I'm still kind of excited for this movie, but I'm like, just like, there's really so little. Like I saw WandaVision, the first 2 episodes. That was pretty good. I'll probably watch the other episodes soon, but it's like there's nothing that's really like popping out to like grab my time, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that was kind of my thought process on WandaVision, because I feel like everyone's like talking about it like it's the best thing since sliced bread, but like I think it's just that people were like so lacking of MCU content that anything that was going to get released was just going to be like eaten up, like, you know, it's a 5-star meal, because like I thought it was all right. You know, it's not bad. There's some really good moments. There's times where I'm like, oh, like that's good. But you know, it's not like the greatest thing. Like they were talking about it like it's literally like, oh my, what are we laughing at, Hunter? My rating scale of
yeah, I could just picture
either this
like,
is not good or yeah, it's pretty good.
I could just see you watching it like by yourself and just something happens like, oh, that's good.
That's how I rate everything in life. Like I'm having a meal at a restaurant. I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. That's good.
Or this is not good.
This is not good. You know, my favorite clip.
Yeah. For WandaVision, I think I'm mostly really loving it because maybe I did a bit of a build up before. Like the week before, I read Avengers Disassembled, House of M, and Tom King's Vision Run, which are the 3 comics that this is pretty much based off of. So I've been really enjoying it through that case. However, I do agree what you said. If this was Falcon the Winter Soldier, I think it'd be a little different because these are characters that people are more familiar with and a storyline that's more MCU format. So I think a lot of people will be way more excited for Falcon the Winter Soldier if that came out before WandaVision, which is very much of a new take, which is interesting, but it's very different and not always in a good way, sometimes in a good way. So I'll
be honest. I was kind of more excited for WandaVision than Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I was too.
Really?
Like, yeah. It hasn't really been getting my attention. Everything I've seen just looks like action. Just very basic. Like, this is why, at least with WandaVision, I enjoyed how, like, weird it's going to be, you know?
Yeah, 100%. With Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I thought the trailer was a little boring.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm going to watch it, but I don't...
Yeah, it'll be cool.
I don't care. There was a Super Bowl TV spot like a year and a half ago, which looked way more interesting. It was 13 seconds of just like Sam holding the shield, and then it cut to like US agent holding the shield as like the new Captain America, and everyone's like, what the hell? It's like, that looks more interesting than just seeing like 30 seconds of Falcon flying around.
Yeah.
So Falcon flying around like machine gun.
Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, I've seen that of Age of Ultron, and I've seen that in Infinity War, and I've seen that in Endgame. Like, I get it. So I don't know. I just thought it was way more interesting with that 30 seconds of showing like the actual storyline of the government choosing someone to be Captain America instead of Sam taking the shield. But in the end, I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier will be really good. I just think the marketing hasn't been good because even
it's interesting. You know, kind of looking at Eternals too, because I'm not really that excited about Eternals. It's not really a team that I care about. But
I thought you said a Turtles.
A Turtles. That's the new Marvel comic. A Turtles coming to you. Hey, it's Stan Lee here. No, I can't do it like him. But no, you know, I remember, maybe I even said it on the podcast. I can't remember that good, but at some point in early 2020, I was like, man, 2020 is gonna be like the weakest year of comic book movies. Like there's like all you have is like Wonder Woman and Birds of Prey and like Black Widow and Eternals. I was like, I don't think it's gonna be that great of a year. Now, little did I know I'd be right with, you know, COVID, but but you know, I don't know. Eternals didn't really tickle my fancy of like comic book content. I don't know, maybe when a full trailer comes out, I'll, you know, be more interested. But just the whole premise, like even, you know, reading about it in, you know, Wikipedia or the comics, you know, it's like it's okay. I don't know. Doesn't really seem that cool to me.
I have the first issue right here, and it was very like the first issue of the new run. This is the first new run.
That's a cool cover.
A lot of years. Great cover, fantastic art. Forget his name. I should really learn his name. It's the guy who did Thor: God of Thunder, and he also did Secret Wars 2015. So he's very similar to Alex Ross, I find. Fantastic art all the way around. It's just kind of a confusing story, and maybe that's because I don't know much about Eternals, but I feel like I know enough where I understand what's going on. It's just I'm not into it yet. I'm going to continue reading it, but right now I'm not into it, so which makes me feel like I won't be fully into the movie.
There's some Eternals fan listening to the podcast right now, like, God, these guys are slandering the team.
Those are my boys.
I've really no history of them at all. I'm just kind of excited because it's like Jack Kirby stuff.
Yeah, it is all Jack Kirby stuff. So,
but like all the costumes don't really look super Kirby-y, which is a little disappointing. Kind of watered it down, but I'm still hoping because I know the director is supposed to be pretty good, which gives me some faith.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be really good. Honestly, like I feel like just from the cast alone and the director and just the fact that all this budget's going into it. Kevin Feige even said that the pitch to Eternals was the best he's ever heard. So I think it'll be incredible. I just am not looking forward to it. I'm gonna watch it immediately when it comes out. Right now I'm like,
yeah, we all know that New God's gonna be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro, written by Tom King.
Yeah, that movie could actually happen, I feel like. Just because Tom King tends to be pretty active on Twitter updating about this.
Yeah, same with Ava. They're both pretty active. I hope it happens. That'd be pretty hype. But it's been like 2 years since it's been announced.
Yeah.
I remember when that first got announced, Caleb was like having like the greatest day of all time.
I was so happy. So happy.
I'm a new Gods fan too. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. But then it's one of those movies that I feel like we might not see. Kind of like JD with the Joker movie. Haven't said that in forever. If you go back to like the early Hero Story episodes, JD was always like, Joker movie's never gonna happen. It's never gonna come out.
Listen,
I don't care if they cast a walk.
To my defense,
never gonna come out.
When we first heard about the Joker movie, I was under the impression that it was a Jared Leto Joker movie, and I'm like, yeah, why would anyone want to make a comic book movie focused on Jared Leto? Come on, Sony, why? But you know, but I was thinking like, why would they ever make a Joker movie with Jared Leto? Like, no one wants to watch that. You know, that can't be $1 billion film that's gonna get nominated for Best Picture and win the Best Actor in the Oscars. Why would that ever happen? But then I was like, oh, put Joaquin Phoenix in place of Jared Leto, and yeah, okay, that's fine.
Maybe it could happen, yeah. And here we are. Next bit of news, something for JD to kind of go over. Maybe Caleb, I don't know your history on this, but Netflix's Sandman series had a casting reveal today or Thursday for those listening. Are you a Sandman fan, Caleb?
I have like the first trade, read probably the first like 2 issues, and was like, I should get into this more, and then
never touched it.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those books that like you could read the first trade and kind of just be like, okay, yeah, that was a book, but it kind of takes a little bit of getting into, and I think it's because it's, you know, it starts in 1989, I think it's the first year, so it's like, you know, it's that era of comics, right, where, you know, you can't really like if you read Flash 1987, right, you read the first trade, you'd be like, I don't know, this ain't that great, but I think that, you know, there's a lot of depth to it, there's a lot of great stories, and it's Neil Gaiman. I mean, he's just, you know, he's a brilliant storyteller, so the whole overarching story is great. But yeah, I could see why someone could read like the first few issues and kind of just be like, I don't know. But yeah, the casting is interesting. There is, I sent it to my mom. My mom's a huge Sandman fan, so I was like, wanted to get her thoughts on it. She was surprised because some of them are like kind of different than the comic, like
you got this. You got this, man.
Lucifer is going to be a woman as opposed to like a man in the comics, which was kind of surprising. And I might have been the only one. I don't know. I don't feel like it's any big names. Like I don't recognize.
Yeah, I looked at the cast and I was like, oh, that's a cast.
But I think that's kind of interesting for a film, like having no history like that. I mean, obviously you're not bringing as much to the, it's not even a film, it's a show, but like, you know, you're not bringing as many viewers based on like your fan base, but like this is how people can make their careers, you know, like that's the people who stand out because that was their, you know, jumping off point. So I'm kind of interested.
Well, it's weird, jumping off point for the most, like some people are fairly big, like Lucifer is being played by Gwendolyn Christie, who was in Game of Thrones, and she was in the latest, she was sort of in the latest Star Wars trilogy as Captain Phasma. So
I don't watch Game of Thrones, and I had no idea what Captain Phasma was.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, Game of Thrones is a pretty big show. I don't know if you heard of it, but
never heard of it. Is this an indie show? Can I back it? Can I support it on Indiegogo?
Yeah, here I'll send you my email to just transfer the funds. I'll get it sent.
It's like Tom Holland said. It's like an indie show, but with a big budget.
Basically, yeah. Gwendolyn Christie, she's in Game of Thrones, and she was Captain Phasma in the latest Star Wars.
I had no idea that was Phasma.
Yeah. There's also Boyd Holbrook who's playing the Corinthian. Yeah. He was the guy in Logan with the metal arm that I forget his name. My, the Wolverine. You know, he was the guy.
That was kind of a spot on impression.
I watched Logan. Not even recently. I was like at start of quarantine like a year ago. I watched Logan. So yeah, that guy's in it. I think he's a good actor. I liked him in Logan.
Yeah, it looks like Cain and Abel will be Indian in this, which is obviously different. But yeah, I don't know. It looks like an interesting cast. I'm excited. The guy who's playing Dream, just based on that hair alone, already looks like Morpheus does in the comics. So I'm excited for this. I think this is gonna be really good. I mean, it's Netflix and it's such a high budget, so where can you go wrong?
Yeah,
Good Omens was good.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Neil Gaiman properties. That's where him versus Alan Moore and these kind of things. You can't touch a Neil Gaiman thing without Neil's approval, right? Like nothing goes forward without him. And if it ain't 100%, like on his stamp, it's not going forward. So, he wouldn't be making this show. And he's been offered since like the 90s to make a Sandman show, make a Sandman movie. And for some reason, it's never happened because they never got it right. So this time they finally got it right by his standards. So, I kind of trust that. It's weird because they released this and the Audible one got released like that it's going to be getting a sequel back to back, like this news. I don't know if you heard about that. They did an audiobook of
right.
Man, with that big cast like James McAvoy and Kat Denning. Yeah, that had a huge cast.
Targan Elliott,
yeah. So that got released, that it's getting a second and third book, and then they released the casting. So when I saw it, I was like, wait, they're recasting the audio? I was like, that's bizarre. Why?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, it's the show. And so I was like, okay, that makes more sense. But I'm excited for the show. And it's funny, I own the audiobook, but I've never listened to it. I told you my mom's a huge Sandman fan, so I had bought it for her, and she finished listening to it. I was like, oh yeah, I'll listen to it, and I just haven't gotten around to it. But based on the voice cast, I feel like I should. James McAvoy's great.
Did she say it was good?
She said it was very good. She said it was well made, high production.
Okay, yeah, I'm interested in it for sure.
Yeah.
Next bit of news is Batman: The Long Halloween animated movie is going to be PG-13 for violence. I think you said, JD.
For the bloody images, which is the point is not that it's PG-13. I don't really care if it's PG-13, if it's G, if it's rated R. That doesn't matter. It's that we're actually getting news on Batman: The Long Halloween animated, because this has been talked about since like 17 when it first got dropped, that it was going to come out in like a 2-part animated movie, but we've heard nothing on it at all. I thought it got canceled.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm too excited for this, to be honest. I was really excited for Hush, and then Hush came out. And I was like,
my thing on like doing these great stories is you have to not only respect the material, but like, it has a certain artist look, right? So Tim Sale, whether you love Tim Sale or hate Tim Sale, he has a look. And that's what really makes The Long Halloween, the long faces,
Joker,
and like the exaggerated like teeth and like all these like characteristics. So if you're not doing that in the animation, you're not really doing the story justice. So like that's why I'm kind of hesitant to do any Tim Sale story in animation, unless you're gonna do Sale style animation. Because like I think Spider-Man Blue would be great animated, but if you're not gonna do it like Sale, then there's no point. Yeah,
for sure, makes sense. I mean, it's nice to know this PG-13.
But I love Long Halloween. One of my second favorite Batman story of all time.
Yeah, it's nice to know that it's PG-13, but it's just a lot of DC animation has been rated R recently for not really a big reason besides that it's really edgy and just has to be gory. It's like,
what about Apocalypse War tearing Wallace West in half?
Yeah, you didn't need that.
Was The Killing Joke rated R?
It was rated R for the beginning part. That was it.
The Batman Batgirl sex scene.
Yeah.
Amazing.
The worst. Amazing. Yeah.
Oh god.
So if you cut out that filler, it would have been PG-13.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I don't know.
Someone was sitting there on the production floor and they absolutely had that conversation where they were like, sir, should we cut this? They're rating it R. And he's just like, no.
We need it in. That's like Jim Gordon's daughter, like Batman's best friend's daughter.
It's like, no.
we need to put that in.
Oh god, I did not need a reminder of the Killing Joke scene between them.
I saw that in theaters. I saw the Killing Joke in theaters.
Oh god,
I was so excited. Day one, I was so hyped, and then it's like,
what was that like? Like sitting in the theater watching that happen?
So uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable. I was with a friend too who read it, and we were both just like, this isn't Killing Joke. And even then, the animation on a big screen kind of hurt my eyes in a way. It felt very choppy. So
yeah, it
looks very choppy. So it looked like less than 60 frames per second at times. So it's like this kind of sucks. I left disappointed. I remember being like, wow, well, Mark Hamill was great, and that's about it. He did a good job reprising his role, but that was it. Oh well. And that's the adapted news of the week. Now on to the comic news of the week. So first big one that I almost forgot to write down before Caleb reminded me before recording. Bendis is no longer coming to DC, apparently. He's no longer a DC exclusive. This was the news that was brought out, and not many people were talking about, but Bendis is no longer signed with DC. He can still work for DC as long as he wants, but he can also leave just like that. So
I think that not having the exclusive is more so like so they can make like kind of more indie books, no? Like Image and stuff like that.
Yeah, but he could also go to Marvel if he wanted.
Like for example, Jeff Johns is making an Image book, which hasn't really been talked about that much. But him and Gary Frank are making an Image Comics book coming, I think, either later this year or next year.
Well, Bendis doesn't really need to like go to Image because he had his own like imprint, you know.
Yeah, with Pearl
like
World,
Pearl,
right?
Yeah, Jinx. Like he had a lot of those like smaller, more like really obscure ones in DC because they were fine with hosting that.
Mm-hmm.
My impression when I heard the news wasn't that like he's leaving DC. It's more so just a flexibility, like just to make other other stories, which I think is fine. I mean, I think being exclusive can be a little tough because like I'm sure that they want to tell other stories. You like a few characters in your head and you're like, all right, I could tell a Daredevil story, but I could also tell a Nightwing story. It's like I want to be able to do both.
Well, yeah, that's
live
the
the
thing.
Chip Zdarsky life.
He's not just leaving DC right away too. Like he's writing Justice League, which is coming out soon.
Yeah,
granted.
Yeah, with David Marquez, they're trying to make that like a huge title. It looks like.
I'm really excited. Honestly,
I am too.
I didn't realize David Marquez was doing art on that.
I'm so hyped for
that is very appealing.
At least the first arc, I think. That's what I'm really hoping it's not going to be like a Batman Superman thing where it's just like the first arc is like David Marquez and then he's just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope he sticks around.
You could even feel that with the Batman Superman book. You just kind of lost that steam.
Exactly. The first arc is going to be about Black Adam being on the League too, like getting Black Adam to join the League and follow the rules, basically. So it's a really cool idea, and I'm so excited for it. But I feel like if it's not successful, if it gets a lot of hate, and if it ends up being bad, Bendis could leave DC. Like just 6 months ago, he was writing like 5 different titles at DC, and now he's writing one. And it hasn't even started yet. Right now, he's writing nothing.
Well, no, he is doing a checkmark book, Checkmate. He's doing like him and David Mack, Alex Maleev, I think.
Oh, for Leviathan?
Yeah. He's continuing that stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
This is the source of Do Trust Me Again. always reliable, always fantastic. Tell as many people. Let's find out.
It sounds real. I mean, he's still doing Leviathan. It's like, sorry, I dropped his Action Comics recently.
I remember spending $10 on that Leviathan special. Did you buy that one, Hunter? It was like a Superman Leviathan special. It was a $10 issue. It was like gigantic. No, I still have it sitting in my drawer, and I kind of just look at it sometimes like, wow, I really spent $10 on this. Like I could have bought like something much better.
Yeah, I did buy it. Just the Leviathan stuff wasn't interesting to me.
It seems like Checkmate is supposed to still be happening sometime. Like, is all it says. There's a Bleeding Cool article from the summer that just says like they're just rescheduling it, but nothing since June. But he tweeted about it recently, and that's why I knew. I was like, wait, that's a thing?
Oh, okay, yeah. I didn't even know about that. So I guess that could be news, even though it might not have been this week that was announced. Was it?
I have no idea.
Okay, well, news of the week. There we go. But yeah, Bendis is no longer signed for DC. He is, but like he could do his own thing.
He's not exclusive.
Yeah, if he went back to Marvel, honestly, wouldn't even be mad. Even though his modern Marvel stuff was a little I
think you're riding a New Avengers and Daredevil high of like you're reading the classic Bendis.
I'm literally reading his.
We could rebuild. We could do better.
Yeah,
Bendis, the $6 million man. Like
I'm literally in the middle of like his peak performance stuff.
That's how it feels then when I read Young Justice, and I'm just like, oh, this is I like enjoy this, but this is not what it could be.
Yeah, for Bendis' Young Justice.
Well, especially when you read like a great title from an author and then you read like some of their modern work and it's just not as good. It's heartbreaking. Like that. I think that's the problem with some modern Wade stuff. And I do think Wade is still pretty damn good. Like he's still, his knowledge of characters is just like infinite. But like there's some books where you read by him now and you're like, oh man, like you wrote like the return of Barry Allen, bro. Like, come on now. I know I'm bringing up Flash and non-Flash conversation, but oh man, like, dude, you did so good. Same thing with Bendis. You read Bendis' Daredevil, you're like, damn, this is amazing. I can only imagine what his career will go on to. And then
For me,
that jacket's so fabulous.
The only way I see it remotely comparable is like old Spidey and Young Justice has the same type of lightness in terms of like the dialogue is a little bit more aloof, but it still is like way missing the mark is where like he can hit,
Yeah, he's got
my impression on Young Justice though is like, has he actually talked to a kid? Because sometimes the way they speak is like so over convoluted, and I'm like, I'm not sure that children have that ability.
It's, to me, his Young Justice seems like very hyperactive kids. Like that's what it is, and it makes sense when you think about like, I think he has like what 4, 5 kids or something.
Yeah,
something like that.
Like that man seems like he has a hectic household, like just in general. So it seems very much the vibe of like that book is just all over the place, just kids screaming essentially, which is like the general vibe I get.
He got the charm in Young Justice. He just needed a better plot. He really needed a way better plot.
And I feel like if it was gonna like continue, it would have been good. But I feel like it stopping at issue 20 killed. And it's also like, come on, you don't need 20 issues to get started to the story. But besides the fact, when it was starting to get really good is when it got axed, which was unfortunate.
Yeah, because you do 10 issues straight of just jumping through the multiverse. And as soon as they get back, Connor gets launched into the multiverse again. So they do 3 more issues looking for him. And then fight scene. And finally, at the end, you go to Mountain Young Justice. It's like Young Justice is now official. Story starts now. Superboy's on the Suicide Squad. It's like, come on.
Yeah. It's really funny because like going back and rereading, I definitely think his stuff is going to age better because I think now that we know some of the answers in the context of the story, no one's just like, oh my God, what's happening? This sucks. I don't have all the answers now.
We were very confused.
Yeah. Like I reread the first arc and I was like, yeah, this is pretty solid. It's not horrible, but it's definitely like, it's very interesting. It just seems very out of step with like what the community was like wanting and kind of like yearning for, like he very much took the book and then was like, I'm going to do this. And it's like, you're at the perfect opportunity to just become super favorable among the community by just like following this very easy path.
And he decided, I'm going to try doing
because with Young Justice, it's so easy to steer into kind of like 90s nostalgia. And that's where we talked about like, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if Williamson wrote Young Justice? Because I think he has like that kind of ability to like dip you into the nostalgia pool while telling a story. And I think that's what we all wanted out of Young Justice, especially because like that's what the original Young Justice was, right? It's like that fun kind of like nostalgic, like everyone kind of has that impression of the run where it just brings them back to like a certain time of their life. So it's that's what I felt like was always missing from the newer book. And maybe on a reread I would like it more.
It probably reads better in trade for sure. Because even then, like when I was reading, I kept wanting to drop it, but I wouldn't. Because I'm like, oh man, I don't like this. And I get to the last page and it's like the next issue Bart's going over his past. I'm like, okay, I want to read that. And then I want to drop it. And then the next page is like, oh, Justice League's in the next issue. I want to read that.
That was the problem I felt like with almost every Bendis book is like, every time I wanted to drop it, the last page would like drop a bomb on me, and I'm like, "Damn, I gotta read the next one."
And even if it
like
didn't,
little like words of like description in the bottom right, where it's like, "Next, Superman finds out." Like, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'll read one more.
Yeah, literally. And then even if it doesn't have that, it was just like, oh, they're going through a multiverse again. I'm gonna drop this. Check my phone, and he announced like, oh, Sideways and Aqualad are joining the team. I'm like, that sounds great.
Whatever happened with that? Because that's after I dropped the book. Did that ever end up like?
He had like 2 panels.
Sideways was on 2 panels.
I think he was like, "Hey,"
he's like, "Hey, I don't know if you guys heard of me, but I'm Sideways." They're like, "Hey, Sideways," and then he like punched a guy and then left.
He's like, it's like, okay, cool. I feel like what he was going for, and I felt like if he had more time, if I was him, what I'd do is it seemed like he was trying to make it more of just like a general expansive team, of just like the hub, and he could have that imprint branch off and do all that type of stuff. But it wasn't made quick enough. It wasn't like, it seemed like in a sense, like if he was gonna sit down and try and do like, okay, I'm gonna do a 60 issue Young Justice arc because I'm crazy for some reason, then I guess maybe the pacing would make more sense. But it was like if he was just, it's very frustrating because it's like, come on, man. I feel like it's very obvious how you pace this out to keep momentum going, and you can't necessarily be surprised when the book gets canceled because you were just starting to pick that momentum up after so many people dropped the book.
Yeah, it's disappointing, and it had so much potential, but I feel like that's a lot of Bendis' stuff at DC in general.
Yeah.
Just
well, I like his Superman. I think his Superman stuff's pretty solid.
You and Tyler, Comic Poppy, are like the #1 defenders of his Superman, and I respect that. You know,
it goes hard.
Whenever we talk in the chat and like. It'll be like I'll be like, oh man, I hate Bendis Superman, and then it's like seen by Comic Savior, seen by Tyler. I'm like, oh fuck, I'm in for it now. Like I'm about to get the ass whooping in the chat, and I'm like, please Hunter, come to the chat. I need.
Hey, even then, I think that Bendis Superman was really good until the
end. Man of Steel, amazing. And I love the Rogue Lazar stuff. Great. I think that is stuff that will go down in Superman Legacy. It's just 18 is where I fall off, and maybe it's a personal thing because maybe the comics aren't actually that bad. It's just I can't get my brain around it. But
so good.
I like Man of Steel. Man of Steel was cool. I would like to reread that because it's been a while.
I got that in trade for Christmas, and then the first trade of Superman in action, and they're all really good. And it's like again, like it was very frustrating because I also knew at the time when it was coming out, everyone was just shitting on it. And I was like, "This sucks." I remember the Kakapsuku line. It's like it was a horrible line, but it's like, all right, whatever. But rereading it, it's really, really good. And I kind of do feel bad for him because he got a lot of hate the whole time he's been at DC. It's constant people just throwing your books suck. This sucks. People, I've been like posting like, oh, I like this, and someone will comment like, wow, he sucks, and I'm like, I tagged him. Why would you say that? Like, it's very funny because I do think when people are kind of more detached from the stories and are able to read it in full, it kind of makes more sense where he was going. That being said, putting John Romita Jr. on Action Comics is absolutely going to hurt the book. 100%.
Supergirl in the box.
Yeah,
it turned the House of Kent arc that could have been one of the best Superman arcs. Horrible, disgusting art. It just looks so simplistic. It looks childish. It's just so. And pairing that on the other end with like Yvonne Reyes' art, it's like, what are you doing? How? Why do you want these?
Yeah, it's completely different. And honestly, I know artists can be good, artists can be bad. Some have their good moments, some have their bad. Romita Jr., I just can't stand it. I understand.
I think JR's DC art is just not it. Like his Spider-Man, like you see some of his Spider-Man stuff and you're like, wow, this is like incredible. And you see some of his Marvel work and then you just see, I don't know, it's something about the DC characters. Like every time he does like a variant, it sticks out like a sore thumb because everyone's a box.
But I feel like I feel like his variants look really good because it looks like he puts a lot of effort into them.
Yeah, but then like I think when he's doing interiors, that it's just like
because it's literally just like line, like literally. There's been times where he's just like poke, smile. He's like, okay, that's Tim Drake, and it's like, what? you're paid hundreds of dollars.
So many lines just across the face, everything. I'm like, man, just do a shadow. You don't have to do a bunch of like lines.
Yeah, it's the whiskers. It's so frustrating because it's oh my god, it's so aggravating.
Yeah, it makes me want to like I'm one of those people that actually enjoyed Suicide Squad Rebirth, but as soon as they replaced Jim Lee with Romita Jr. for a Killer Croc arc, and I'm like, don't do that.
It looks like Superman has like severe scoliosis, like the way he's bent over.
Like look up Killer Croc by Junior Jr. It's the reason I dropped Suicide Squad, a book that I was enjoying. So
he's the reason I mean, also I guess Frank Miller a little bit, but like I was tempted to read Superman Year One when that was coming out, but then once I heard Romita Jr. was gonna be on the art, I'm like, that's not gonna be good.
Yeah, just a lot.
Literally, just look at how like the JR stuff versus like the Yvonne Reyes, and it's like one of them has a very specific vibe, and it's really weird because it seemed like at first it was gonna be like Yvonne Reyes on Superman and Ryan Sook on Action Comics, and then it was just like, nope, we're gonna do Legion now, and JR is gonna take over. Enjoy it.
Yeah, it's like that's difficult to do, DC. But okay. Oh, going on with the news of the week. Yeah, that's the killer croc that I.
Oh my god!
So boxy.
Why does he have a bunch of bumps on him? I don't. Going on with the news of the week, which I guess we got sidetracked there talking about artists at DC. I guess we'll keep with the DC stuff for now. Just one little tidbit of news. Talia al Ghul will be a key character in the upcoming Robin ongoing by Joshua.
Good. She doesn't get enough love in the comics. And in JD's hot take of the week, I've never been a big fan of Batman and Catwoman together, and I always thought Talia would be interesting to explore in a main story. So that's my hot take of the week. Thank you.
She was explained in a main story, bro. She was expanded on Grant Morrison's Batman and Robin.
Yeah, but Grant Morrison kind of made her like a little rapey, and people don't like that.
We just pretend that doesn't happen.
I miss the old Talia.
The old Talia who will like threaten Bruce's life and and
call him lover and stuff.
Yeah. No, I disagree. With Marvel
fair enough.
So 2 pretty big Marvel news this week. So last week we talked about Marvel Reborn, Marvel redoing an event that happened a long time ago. Turns out it's not going to be an event. It's going to be an ongoing series written by Jason Aaron going over the Squadron Supreme, which is like Marvel's Justice League. It's got like a guy who's very much like Batman, like Superman, like Wonder Woman. So it's a Squadron Supreme story, and it's going to be almost like a what if story. Jason Aaron described it as this is like bringing back what if in a way for this non-canon story. It's going to be like or at least a different universe here.
Did someone say Marvel story from the 90s?
Yeah, Rob Liefeld is not involved in this as far as I know.
God.
I can't remember the artist, but it looks very much like Jorge Jimenez. Like very, very much.
Ed McGuinness.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, him.
Oh, the Birds of Prey guy, right? From back in the 2000s?
That's the question of the day, JD.
Yeah, I think he did.
I'm looking it up right now.
It sounded right in my head, but now I don't know.
But yeah, it's going to be just an ongoing series about the Squadron Supreme. It's almost like a what if, and Marvel described this what if as in the Squadron Supreme are going to be the main heroes of this universe. What if Tony Stark never built the Iron Man suit? What if Captain America was never found in the ice? And what if, to quote Marvel Comics, what if Thor was an atheist? That's officially on the Marvel website describing this. JD, your face.
I'm just so confused.
Yep, that's what they
Thor's
said.
a god, but he doesn't believe in gods?
I think what they're going for is they're going the Donald Blake thing where like, oh, you get the cane, you slam it on the ground and it's Mjolnir. But except he doesn't believe that it'll happen. I don't know. That is what officially says on the Marvel website. That what if Thor was
now is this connected to the Chip Zdarsky Spider-Man book? Because in Chip's newsletter he said that it's it's the book where it's like basically what if Spider-Man kept the symbiote.
Mm-hmm. This is like another one happening here.
Oh, okay, because Chip said like this is kind of like our way of bringing back what if, but like more for like series, which I think is interesting because the cool thing about like the what ifs is like the concept, and it's like we need it to be brought out over more issues. Mm-hmm. So I think making it like miniseries is very interesting, but I didn't know if that was connected.
As far as I know, Marvel's Reborn is an ongoing. I could be wrong about that.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure it's an ongoing. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's basically just all these heroes. What if they weren't heroes? Maybe Peter Parker never got bit by the spider. So the Squadron Supreme, led by Agent Coulson, is going to be the heroes of this Marvel universe. Art looks nice. I don't really care for the story, though. I don't know if I'll be
honest. Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I've read a lot of Squadron Supreme from Aaron's Avengers run. I don't really care. It's like, all right, yeah, it doesn't really matter. What about you, JD?
Yeah, it's Squadron Supreme is like, okay, the discount Justice League, sure.
Okay, fair enough. Last bit of news is there's an election going on with the X-Men. You could choose the final member for the upcoming full X-Men team. This will be the main team for the just ongoing X-Men comics, led by Cyclops and Jean Grey. A few members have already been picked by Jonathan Hickman, but you could pick the last member. So if you go on Marvel Comics website, you could officially vote. Voting might have ended by the time this episode comes out. But
I haven't voted yet.
Shoot,
I forgot I didn't do that.
You should maybe get on that, hey? Otherwise, you're going to be shamed for not voting for X-Men.
I don't know these characters. Boom Boom. tempo.
It's a lot of I guess not
strong guy. I'm voting for strong guy.
Strong guy is currently the lowest vote, so
this is the strong guy.
Trump this, Biden that. Give me some strong guy up in here.
Vote
Dude, if strong guy was on the ballot in 2020, I think I may have voted for him.
But yeah, you could vote once, I believe, unless you could vote many times. I guess you might be able to. And yeah,
I love the concept of this, by the way, because like
Mhm.
whenever someone talks about like death in the family, like how you get to vote on Jason Todd, like living or dying, that's such a cool concept to me. Like I feel like they should do maybe not like life or death, but like adding characters to the team. Like that's a great concept.
This would be great for like a full on like Justice League or even Avengers. I'd love to see this, but X-Men is cool too.
Until it gets like hacked and you end up with like Squirrel Girl on the main Avengers and like
yeah,
arm fall off boy and like that's your Avengers team.
Yeah,
and then we are all just gonna spam them to have like a random writer write it too, just the most unknown writer.
Yeah, pretty much. I voted for Sunspot. I'm gonna be honest. I appreciate all the upcoming DMs of people recommending me books here, but I am currently not a big X-Men fan. Not because I don't like them, because I haven't read much of them. I've read a lot of Hickman stuff, and that's it. I've read like big stories like Dark Phoenix, and I've read big stories like no, that's about it. Dark Phoenix.
Days of Future Past?
No, I actually have not read Days of Future Past. Yeah, I haven't read it. I've seen the movie. I enjoy it, but I haven't actually read it. So I want to get into X-Men. I do. I just haven't done it yet. I'm in the middle of
you need to focus because all right, here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen, listening to the podcast. Hunter is not good at focusing on one title. He at the beginning of COVID was like, hey, I'm gonna read every Daredevil comic, and we're like, yeah, that's a great goal. And he starts getting trade by trade, and then for some reason like that guy that looks at the other girl while he's walking with his girl, like he sees New Avengers walk by and he's like, whoa, New Avengers. And then he went with New Avengers, and Daredevil's just like, oh, how could he leave me? So and then now he's like, but what if I read X-Men at the same time? Focus on one, New Avengers, then finish Daredevil, then move on to X-Men or 90s Aquaman, whatever you want to read.
To be fair, when I was doing Daredevil for a while, and I actually bought a lot of trades. I was on Brubaker, so I finished the Bendis run, and the next run was at Brubaker. I read the books, and they said that Volume 3 wouldn't arrive for like 2 months. I'm like, oh man, I want to like
Canada shipping where they have to walk through the treacherous snow.
Exactly. Like the guy's moose was injured, so he had to, we had to wait a little bit. And he's like, it's a little chilly out, eh? So I decided I want to read Brubaker's run, and I don't want to stop until I get to the end. I don't want to stop it at volume 2 and be like, oh, that's it. Now I have to wait a bit. So instead, I'm like, I'll binge his run when I get the full run. And until then, I'll find something else to read. So Tyler, not Comic Poppy, Comic Boy, was like, you should get into Avengers. So he gave me like a recommendation of literally like 35 Avengers trades. And he's like, yeah, read this. I'm like, okay.
And then Hunter got addicted to it like crack rock.
It's so good. Avengers comics are so good. And I spent hundreds of dollars on these trades. Trades are expensive in Canada. And I'm like, man, you know what? I'm entertained. I'm not going to question why I'm doing this. I'm enjoying this. I get one. I put it on my shelf.
Listen,
that looks good. I read it.
Listen, I respect this a lot because I made a meme post today, and it's the one that rang true to me the most. Of I have a list of so many runs and issues and stories that people have recommended to me, and yet I find myself rereading the same like 5 to 6 runs just because it's like my comfort reading. And the way I've always viewed it is like it's like the reason like I watch the same movies and watch the same TV shows. The way it makes you feel, that you like it, and for some reason it like feels like a warm hug. Like you just know it's gonna hit like that, and you continue to reread it, you continue to rewatch it.
Mm-hmm. But in this case,
like JD said, it's crack rock.
It's crack rock. That'll be clipped out of context by Harper, I'm sure. But
but in like I'm enjoying this. It's my entertainment. I'm not like I'm spending this money like, oh man, why did I do that? I did that a few times, but by the time I got it, I was like, hey, this is good. This is really good, and I can see myself rereading this after. Because I'm not just reading runs that I want to read. I'm reading runs that are being recommended to me for a reason. People aren't like, oh, you like Avengers? I guess read this. It might be good. People are like, you have to read this run because it is so good. So I'm like, so I read it. I'm like, yeah, this is so good. So yeah, that's why I am reading Avengers, and eventually I'll get into X-Men, but I'm actually going to try to hold myself off for X-Men until I'm either done Daredevil or Avengers, probably within the next few months.
Good job. Good job, Hunter. I like to see you sticking to a character.
Thank you. Just ending with the news of the week for the current X-Men votes. As of 9 hours since this recording, which was the last kind of like update, they announced that the number one for the poll was Polaris at 22%. Banshee was in second place at 14.6%. Sunspot, who I voted for, was at 12%. I only voted for Sunspot because a lot of people were telling me to, so I was like, oh, okay. And Strong Guy at bottom, 5.1%.
Strong Guy. I'm about to go vote for him right now.
But now that Kayla's voted and JD's voted, maybe we'll get people listening to vote for Strong Guy, and maybe we'll boost a hero story will be the reason that Strong Guy will be on the team.
That is the goal. That is the goal. Jonathan Hickman, I pay your bills. Remember that.
Title of this episode might be called Vote Strong Guy. I don't know. Oh, voting.
Caleb Fagan, and I approve this message.
Voting closes at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time on February 2nd. So you've got time.
Oh, plenty of time.
Strong man.
Vote.
Right up on my head. Right.
Strong Guy.
Vote Strong Guy.
I got it right here. It's on all white screen, so you probably won't be able to see it. But my vote is for Mr. Strong Guy.
Vote Strong Guy.
Oh, boom. Strong Guy's in the X-Men.
Well, we'll see if he makes it. Vote Strong Guy. Maybe I got to redo this. I don't. Could I vote twice? I voted.
It said only one vote per person, so it probably has your IP address. So no.
I'll see if.
Let's find out. I'm just gonna do it on my phone. Strong Guy needs my help.
Again.
He needs me.
And Strong Guy needs your help. With just one click of a button, you can get Strong Guy to be a main X-Men.
Caleb, are you an X-Men fan?
Like, I read like House of X, Powers of X, but I haven't read a ton of it. And so it's like, they're cool, neat characters, but it's like, there's so many books. I can't really keep up with all of them. I can't really afford to keep up with all of them. And they're all coming out at the same time. And it's like, you have to read it all at like different times. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying when the Hickman stuff was first coming out that one day it's going to be crazy when like some gigantic set of like 5 omnibuses comes out and it's just everything in order. And it's like, run issue like of the 5 different runs. And it's going to be excellently collected. Like I could already see it in the future.
Yeah, that's what's like Tinian's Detective Comics looks like it's all collected in a really cool omnibus. And it's like, yeah, that'll happen with like King's Batman, Bendis' Superman, stuff like that.
Oh, King's Batman all in one run. That'd be awesome to have.
I just voted on my computer and
I did on my phone as well.
Has 2 votes on my behalf.
Strongman has 4.
So if I could do 2 votes for Strong Guy, you could at least do 1.
Yeah.
JD and I put this message.
Vote Strong Guy.
I'm just gonna keep doing it on incognito now.
Just keep doing it throughout the episode. If you're listening right now, just
isn't that what they did for the Jason Todd? Like, didn't they rig it? We're gonna rig it for Strong Guy.
Strong Guy.
Well, let's do a speed run here. By the time we start talking about the first comic that we talk about, which will likely be Daredevil, by the time we start that, you have to have voted at least once. Starting now, go. Now on for the comics of the week.
So everyone read Daredevil, right? What do we think?
Well, first, before pick of the week, cover of the week.
What
was your pick of the week?
Both. I like the Daredevil cover.
Daredevil cover for your pick and Daredevil cover for your cover.
Yeah, unpredictable.
Cover gotta be Dark Detective.
That's cool.
Looks super dope. Looks super dope. But then pick of the week, very obvious. Strange Adventures. It was amazing.
Interesting. Okay, we're all different here. Cover of the week, Strange Adventures. I really like this cover a lot. If you look close, it's like the comic dots all around. I like that a lot. Pick of the week, Aquaman, Future State. I love this. This was really good. I liked it a lot. But we'll start with Daredevil here. We'll start with the Marvel stuff, and then we'll dive into the deep DC Strange Adventures and whatnot. But yeah, Daredevil. You're reading this, right, Caleb?
Yeah, I'm really liking it.
This is so good. This is the best Marvel book.
I honestly though, this issue was probably the issue I was like, It was just like the symbiote stuff.
Are you reading King Black?
No, and that's why.
Okay,
that's why.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing because like I'm not reading King of Black, so I feel biased. But like I'm typically not a fan when they kind of do these crossovers where You know, it's like I don't know. I hate when they go into books like this, especially like they were in such a big story with the Elektra stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh man, you're really cutting off the steam, but it's okay. I mean, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
It's not
Pick of the week. It's okay.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I mean, I didn't read that many books though, so.
Oh, also, you can just keep voting on Incognito. So we already know it is Strongman Nation time, baby.
Yeah, I imagine some people voted for Strong. If you voted for Strongman and you're comfortable doing it, or Strong Guy, I think it is, post it on your story. Tag a hero story. We'll post it on our story too.
Yes, to get even more exposure for our boy.
Yeah,
tag me as well. Yeah, let's do this.
Tag Comic Savior, a hero story, and if you want Comic Book Hunter and History of the Flash, we gotta see how many strong guys we can get. Just proof that you voted for our boy.
It's Strong Guy Nation.
Yeah. vote Strong Guy. I'm gonna have to make this thumbnail for the YouTube video so like political.
look at our king. Look at Strong Guy.
Can it be like I want you? Can it be the Uncle Sam but with Strong Guy's face? Like I want you to vote for Strong Guy.
God,
I'm already putting a lot of strain on 2 a.m. Hunter, who's going to be editing this podcast. But
yeah, there's a joke
vigorously working
with our team. There's literally a joke with our team that like because I export and upload and edit and change the audio and make the thumbnail for all this stuff at the end of the podcast. So I'm always up to like 2 a.m. I look like Coraline's dad, just like on the computer, like. Harper always messages me like, "Hey man, it's like 9 p.m. where I am. I'm like almost ready for bed. You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, what? Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good." So, you know, I'll be making a political thing, I'm sure here. Anyways, this issue, I am reading King in Black, and I read Donny Cates' Venom too, so I have an appreciation to King in Black. I think it's really good. This, however, they made the symbiotes a lot more horror-like. Like with the sharp teeth, but you can still see their faces. It's not covered by the symbiote, but like the white eyes, like the girl's mother there, it's terrifying, but in a good way. It reminds me of like a horror manga in a way. Like this scene right here, when that girl's mother gets like infected, it's like, dang, this is good. But I also agree with you that I would have preferred it just to continue on the tracks of.
I mean, and as I mentioned on past episodes, the Venom like symbiote mythology has never been my biggest interest. You know, even with the whole '90s saga of Spider-Man, I think the whole Venom stuff is okay. It's not really my favorite stuff. So, you know, with like a whole event focused on like Venom stuff, I'm kind of just like, oh, okay.
For me, my friend, back when like Batman was coming out, I was getting Batman and he was getting Venom. He was like, "You really got to read this," and I was like, "You really got to read this." And then we just haven't read the opposite title.
All right, as someone who's read both, I prefer Batman as a character, but I think Venom was the better title. Venom was like I think is one of the best Marvel titles right now, along with Daredevil.
Wow,
it's that, and Thor. It's that good. It's really good. Also,
I like Donny Cates.
Donny Cates is really good. He's really cosmic, and I like that.
Yeah.
I'm also just noticing now that Elektra's weapons are like not sharp. I didn't realize that before. They're more like
just batons.
Yeah, they're like batons, but they're in the shape of her usual weapon. I like that. It shows that she's trying not to kill. I wonder if she got that custom made or if she's just like dulled the blade a lot. But yeah, the ending of Matt Murdock becoming a symbiote. All right, like
yeah, I mean, I felt like we kind of knew it was happening, like, you know, from just the tie-in, but like I guess they're kind of going for like, oh hey, that looks cool, but it's like,
yeah.
I did like his conversation with Null. It was just black.
It doesn't feel like an issue of Chip's Daredevil, you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't feel like it feels out of place, you know, in the whole run. Like I think if you were like, if it was 5 years from now and you're reading this in trade, you'd hit this issue and you're like, oh, this is kind of odd. It's like kind of like DC in like the 90s 2000s where like everything, there was a lot of crossover, so like you'd be reading a run and then you randomly hit like Joker's Last Laugh and you're like, oh, that was a weird issue. Okay. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I'll be reading like Robin, for example, right? You have the Joker's Last Laugh tie and you're just like, oh, that was wow, let's just get back to the regularly scheduled programming. Like
yeah, it was a little out of time. It still felt like a Daredevil issue though. They weren't just going like symbiotes are attacking the city. It was, they also had like the whole conversation with the warden of the prison, and they had a bit of Elektra being like, I shouldn't kill the prisoner, talking to Matt like, you're creeping people out. So it's still good. It's just a little out of place, like you were saying, JD. I give it like an 8. I still enjoyed it.
6. It was nice.
Okay.
I think 6 is a good.
Yeah, I'm at like 6.57. I mean, it's my pick of the week by default because I didn't read that many comics, but it's all right.
Chill.
JD hates comics.
Chill.
I'm too focused on the stonks right now to be reading comics.
Dogecoin is at
Dogecoin is what is purchase Dogecoin if you're a smart man.
It is at 0.057 right now. It is.
You have it already.
I'm about to buy like $5 billion worth.
But yeah, that was okay. Sticking with Marvel, the Marvel news though, or I guess Marvel Comics. Do you want to do Spider-Man next? Did you read Spider-Man?
Yeah, it was after like the last arc. What the last arc felt like? Okay, comparing because Spider-Man's very clearly trying to go for like, and I'm this isn't like Tom King did not create this, but I feel like for me mentally it's just easier to relate it to like how he structured that story, because he made it very clear it was like 4 chapters. You can very much see that present, that type of like styling in the Spider-Man run. And where I felt like, at least right now, the issue seems to be is like after Sins Rising, after the Kindred Our Last Remains, it's just kind of like, nothing really kind of changed,
Yeah.
But it feels like now we're kind of going back into like this dip while we're waiting for the story to like climax again. And it just kind of feels like it just lost momentum out of nowhere. Whereas I felt like in the middle of like the Batman run, for example, it was like there was a big cataclysmic shift that like changed the direction of the run.
That makes sense. Yeah. That's a good comparison, actually, comparing this to Batman there. Because although it's been very, very, very Spider-Man, once Last Remains hit, it got very serious and a bit more talking about like depression and whatnot.
Yeah. And it was definitely, and you could see the like, clearly Nick Spencer's been trying to do the very long-term planting the seeds for a long time, which I really appreciate.
I like that.
It makes those runs a lot more full with like Grant Morrison's Batman, Bendis' Superman, like when you're able to kind of have that, which is why like Young Justice felt so weird because it didn't feel like it had that time to kind of play and breathe and like expand its story,
Yeah, for sure. This is the start of a new arc, Negative Space. It still felt like Last Remains at first. There was a lot of talk with Harry, and even in the end, there was a lot of talk with Harry. But this is the start of a new arc, so featuring Mr. Negative taking over, trying to get rid of his Mr. Negative self, which is an interesting plot point. But in the end, it just feels like Nick Spencer still wants to talk about Last Remains.
Yeah,
this whole arc felt like Last Remains, even though it was a Mr. Negative arc. What did you think, JD? Your mic's muted. I don't know if you know that.
I thought he was doing like a mime thing.
Yeah, you just sort of like moving your lips
aggressive, No, my thing about this arc is I don't know if I liked the art or not, because I was reading through it at first I was like, wow, this art is like really like cool, it's stylistic, and then I started looking more and I'm like, wait, do I like this?
It looks cool in the costume, but not the faces.
Yeah,
the Spider-Man suit looks great.
Yeah, I don't know, like there's a page, is one of the last pages. It's like the last like 6 pages. I don't know. At one point, it's like a full thing of the suit on the bottom. I'm like, wow, that looks cool with the webs all around it. Then I'm like, I don't know if I like this or not. But yeah, I think I agree with Caleb's point about momentum and following up on an arc, which I think is interesting as a writer. Following up on an arc, like especially like when you really put a lot into an arc and then going on to the next thing after that, like I think it's just so hard to keep momentum on that kind of thing. So
an ad for number 60 with Kinder still. Like still. Like, what is, and it's like really weird because it's like I don't know the pace that the story's trying to go at because he didn't say it before, so it's not like there's really perspective to have with the story. So it just kind of feels like we're just getting jerked around with all the plot points,
Which makes sense. Yeah, it's just the long arc. It reminds me of Young Justice, of just you gotta stop the arc. You can come back to these characters, but you gotta like keep the momentum going. Stop just staying around with Kindred. who we've been with since October. Yeah, October.
Yeah.
I think. So it's like, come on. I give this like a 6. It was good. I was
6, yeah.
But
Yeah,
it could have been better there. DC stuff. Do you want to start with Strange Adventures?
Sure. It was great. I loved it.
No, it's strange. I remember we talked about this in the chat, but I can't remember which one was. Which one became bi-monthly? Strange Adventures or Batcat?
Strange Adventures for sure.
Strange Adventures. Why did that happen? Do you know why?
I think he essentially said like with the pandemic and stuff, he said like work on the artists. It seems like just to give them more time to like relax, which I mean I get, because I will say it seems like especially Tom King and Mitch are very active on social media. So it doesn't really, and Mitch also has a kid, so it doesn't really surprise me that they're kind of having to like slow down on the art and stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely a bummer because 4 issues left, and it's like, wow, this is not the time to go.
Yeah, like it just like it kills the pace. And I mean, I guess when you're visiting the story like 5 years from now, you're like, oh wow, went by monthly, like that sucks for them. But like, oh man, when you're living through it, it's like shit.
Yeah, I've been loving it so far. I think in total, his Strange Adventures, Batcat, what was the third one he was doing, Rorschach, have all been like hitting it out of the park.
Yeah, 100%. Like his 12-issue miniseries are great, and even just the art's fantastic and everything. A little confusing at times, and this was dark. This was really dark.
Yeah.
A lot of people on the DC subreddit were wondering, is this canon? And it is, according to Tom King.
Oh, interesting.
This actually,
I thought it's like kind of one of those loose things where it's like kind of like the King verse at this point.
Yeah. I think that's because I think that's just because it's how it's set up with the Black Label and stuff. They kind of just keep it ambiguous,
Yeah. So it's canon, but they probably won't reference it. But like, yeah,
that was a really cool page. That was a super cool page. The art was killer.
A city blew up. 3,000 or 37,988 people died. That's insane.
Yeah, it was I love the art on Barry. Kind of a bummer that they had him look exactly like Wally.
Yeah.
But it still looked super hot.
Yeah,
it's
literally it is Wally in the end. But yeah, Phoenix. It's not even like a metropolis. This is Phoenix. This is a real city that just blew up. It's wow.
Yeah, I'm really with Strange Adventures more than anything else. I think you could definitely see a lot of like King's own influence in his life, just like going to Iraq and stuff, because the stories are very like similar, like to a point where I would say it's very on the nose, of like, oh my God, he genocided. Like it was very obvious what it was going into it. So I don't necessarily feel like the plot points were like surprising, but I still feel like it's a good story. And especially for the time, I think the pace it's been going, which is like what you said, JD, it sucks that they're like slowing it down. Cause I feel like the pace with like what's just been going on in the rest of the world, it's been interesting how the book's been able to come out alongside that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It is an interesting time for it to be coming out.
Yeah, it does a really cool job of showing. I really like just the perspective thing. I think that's definitely something that's really, and that's why like it's weird seeing the reactions to like Strange Adventures, Batcat, or not reactions, but like how he writes them, because he writes them a lot more confidently. If you notice how he writes like the regular bi-weekly Batman, it feels a lot quicker. It feels a lot less confident. The writing feels a lot less firm. But in Batcat, in Strange Adventures, and in Rorschach, all those stories feel like he's definitely kind of found that creative voice, and he's able to kind of drive with that, which is nice. And definitely, I think you can see that improvement in his work.
Yeah, definitely. Just going over this again, like, it's interesting that he took Adam Strange's character that I wouldn't say had many fans. It's like, not many fans. I'm going to make him a murderer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make him like a mean person. I'm gonna make him like scream at his wife when his wife's like, spend time with your daughter, and I'm gonna make him like go insane, basically. But it's so well written at the same time.
Yeah.
Like the argument alone, just the art on it, you can see the expression of the characters' faces of how annoyed Adam is and how just like over it Alana is. This is good. This is really good.
Yeah.
Just going through this again. JD, you read this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like my feeling on Strange Adventures is kind of like my feeling on any Tom King book of like, man, I just really wish I could read the whole story right now. I think I was spoiled by Mr. Miracle by not reading it right away.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't suffer issue by issue. I'm sure if I did read Mr. Miracle, I would have felt, the same way on it.
Yeah, this is how it felt when the page where Metron's
because obviously you read it 1 through 12.
Yeah, when Metron was like, oh, this is like the real universe, I was like, oh my god, and then the next issue just completely dropped, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what happened?
Yeah. So I think, my feeling with Strange Adventures is like, I guess my mind won't fully let me get into it. Like, I think it's good. I think it's interesting. I think there's like, it's a well built up plot. I think the art is amazing, but it's just like, I can't fully get into it until I could read the whole thing. And I've kind of been like trying to go back to past issues when a new one comes out, just because I feel like I need to kind of like give myself like previously on Strange Adventures and like kind of like go over it in my head, So, but no, I think that this issue was pretty good. And like, oh man, I just wish we could get to issue 12 already. Like, it feels like this book's just been going on forever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Time's weird with COVID.
It came out.
It started before COVID.
March, right? Like February, March.
Yeah.
So is that right?
It's almost been a year.
Almost a year. Yeah.
Wow. It's good. I think I will be picking up the trade when it eventually comes out and just do a full-on reread. It's good. It's just it's a little hard to follow at times, and these bi-monthly waits are gonna kill it.
Yeah. I think Batcat's one that's also like a lot harder to follow just because it doesn't have the distinct like artist separation,
Yeah,
it's just
for
like
sure.
3 different timelines, and it's like you just better make sure that the suits look different.
Yeah. It is very confusing. I give Strange Adventures an 8. I enjoyed it. I'm a little confused, but 8.
Yeah, I think 8. I like the last issue more because I thought the art in the last issue was really cool, where he was just getting zapped around.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that looked really, really cool. But yeah, I think an 8's a pretty fair score.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
JD, 8 as well?
I'm probably closer to 7, but yeah.
Okay.
Close.
Aquaman, Caleb, did you read this? I know JD did.
I did not.
Oh my
god. I look forward to hearing about it though, because my comic shop owner said it was good.
I keep hearing it's good.
I'm gonna say my rating right off the bat, 10. This is the best Future State book ever.
Whoa.
It beats Dark Detective issue 1, which was my original favorite. And it beats Justice League. This is so cool. It's 3 timelines, but it makes more sense in this. Or sorry, 2 timelines. Technically 3, but 2. It's 5 years in the future from now. Or no, because Andy's older. It looks like it's maybe 13 years in the future from now. Andy Curry, who's currently a baby in continuity, is maybe like 13 or 14. It goes over Jackson Hyde, Aqualad, him during that time, like maybe 13 years from the future, and then 16 years in the future. But 13 years in the future, straight up, is very much him and Andy just going on patrol in the ocean. They took out Black Manta off screen, and Andy's kind of arguing, like, why don't we just kill this guy? And Aqualad's just like, it's my dad. And he's like, Aquaman's been fighting this guy before you were born. Like, he's pretty messed up. Like, he's done terrible things, but like, we shouldn't kill him. I don't want him dead. And he's like, well, Aquaman would want him dead. It's like, Aquaman couldn't even kill him for all these years that before you were born and all that. So they have an argument, and as they're arguing, Andy summons some sharks around, but the way they describe that her powers are different than Aquaman's is Aquaman sort of pushes sea life to a certain direction, gives them suggestions, and like speaks to them, while Andy here could actually physically control their minds and force them to do things against their will. So
wow.
She hates it. She doesn't like it. She doesn't mean to do it. Every time she does it, she freaks out. She's like, I didn't mean to do that. Oh God, I feel so guilty because I'm forcing these things to do things against their will. And it scares Aqualad a little bit, but at the same time, he's like, it's going to be okay. Like, don't worry about it. We're going to figure this out. As they're talking, a little confusing. Generally explained, but there's going to be another issue. They go to a different dimension. Aqualad described it like they're talking, and he says, wait, to quote him, wait, did you feel that? We just, something just changed. Felt like a frequency shift. The JLA teleporters feel like that when you go through them. and then they realize like the color's different, and the sea life or stuff that they don't recognize, and they're in a different ocean dimension in a way. That's what they showed. It's like in space and colors, and the whole book is like a really trippy thing of them going through these different colored beaches, like helping people when they can, but in the end they're just like trying to find their way back. The whole time the art is like so good. It's bright. It's
who was the artist
cool.
on this book?
It is I'm trying to find the thing. There it is. Artist is Daniel Sampier.
Okay.
I also give credit to the colorist Adriano Lucas, because he does really good color here, and then Brandon Thomas is the writer. But yeah, it's part one of, I think,
Brandon Thomas is the one going to the Flash, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, this was really good, so I have hope there.
Good sign.
There's a point in this book where Andy, she's controlling almost like a Kraken, and she needs to like sacrifice herself in a way, and Aqualad's like, oh god, she's gonna kill herself, so he's like trying to scream at her to stop, but she ends up instead cutting off her leg, which is kind of like how Aquaman got his arm cut off. She cut off her leg. I'm gonna have to go back. Does she have a missing leg in Justice League? Because this takes place before Justice League Future State.
I don't
remember her having a missing leg in Justice League.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. That was the last you see her in this issue.
Because even in the Justice League cover, she got both legs.
Oh, you have it on? Yeah. Okay, maybe she gets it back or something. The other side of the story is like 5 years from there, where they believe that she died from that, but Aqualad, now calling himself Aquaman, is saying differently. His design's really cool, and he's basically in shackles, and he's talking to these people who's tormenting him, being like, no, she's dead, and we're gonna like kill you too, kind of thing. No more aqua people, I guess.
Aqua people.
It's a really cool scene where the lights all turn red, and he uses that as an opportunity to like break out of his shackles, where he has this really cool design where like his tattoos all light up. Has like Aquaman's body type, and he just starts beating people up and saying, no, Aquaman lives. And it's just, I don't know, I'm a big Aquaman fan, and this book is just so cool, and I highly recommend it. Yeah, and I'm so excited for it to continue. Like, all he does is like he's telling these guards that she's alive, and they're just like, no, and he's just like, look, we just want to get back to our dimension. We've been here 5 years. We've helped people as we can, but we need to get back to ours. And then finally he starts to beat them up, and he says, his last words are, come on now, not polite to keep her waiting. And he's like takes out the swords and like breaks the chains on his wrists and just looks at all the guards. It's like, damn, this is so good. This is so like, I'm a big Aquaman fan, so I love Kelly Sue's run, but I think this is even better. And I'm so excited for the next issue. Highly recommend. 10. That was great. Anyways, books that you guys also read. That's all the books you read, right, JD?
Yeah, I'm out of books. I had 2 Marvel, 1 DC this week.
Okay, I got Dark Detective, or what do you have on you?
I also read a couple, like the first story of Batman Black and White issue 2, which was really cool. It was the Tom King.
That?
Oh, no one saw that. What happened? Yeah. Good. R.I.P. the audio listeners. But,
yeah.
But it was really cool. The stories so far have been really, really awesome. I really like that DC's doing kind of an anthology again.
Mm-hmm.
It really it's very fun. It feels very light. And the King one was definitely not fun or light. It was essentially about Batman going in. A priest rushes into a burning church to save children, and debris falls on him, and the priest is crushed but still alive. And so Batman goes to try and save him. And when he gets there, realizes he can't help the priest, and he's like, I can leave you and go get help, and it'll be quick. And he's like, no, I'm gonna die, so just stay here with me. And he's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Father, there were no kids in here. I tried telling you to not run in, but you ran in. And he's like, it's okay. And then Batman's just all sad. He's like, oh, I couldn't save you. And the priest is like, there, child. And it's just a pretty solid all around, like 8-page like story, but it's nice because it's
8 pages.
Yeah.
That's it.
What? Yeah, it's pretty good. I posted it. It's really, like, I was kind of surprised how just nice it was.
Huh.
There are a lot of just 8-page little vignettes. One of the good ones with like Tinian and Trad Moore last issue was like called One Punch, and it was essentially like 20 or like 100 different like League of Assassin members were all trying to fight Batman, and it was just like going through the mind of one of them, and he's essentially just like, I am not a person, I'm purely an appendage of this like league, you know. And I only have one goal, and my one goal is to land one punch on Batman, and the whole little story is just this one little ninja just trying to run up and just punch him.
I just pulled it up on your Instagram, man. That's I didn't even see this post. Damn algorithm.
Yeah, it's a really like, and I'm really hoping that they keep doing. I know they're doing Superman. What's it called?
Red, white, and blue, or red and blue.
Yeah. They what's it called? There's like one of these. Like the pages just look very, very dynamic. There's like, I don't even know what half the stuff is, but yeah, it's just really nice little vignettes and stuff, you know?
Oh, Mitch Jarrett did the art here?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Huh.
I think Zardusky did a story last week or last issue. They're That's like so really cool. It's really cool teams of talent. I'd definitely recommend the book if you guys haven't read it.
I own a Batman black and white trade, which I've never even touched, but it's just sat on my shelf for years. And it's like has like Jim Lee art in it and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is like a cool creative team considering it's in black and white. But yeah, I've just never touched it.
Yeah, I was really put off at first because like I don't know how much I really want to deal with like black and white, because I've gotten like other black and white comics and they're mad. But I was really pleasantly surprised at like the quality that a lot of the people put into it.
Yeah.
This is so cool. I can't, I like that. I didn't realize that's what it was. I thought it was just like a different Batman story that was just in black and white.
No. It's a ton of different creative teams.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
I'll definitely pick this up now. I'll probably get the trade eventually, but I'll see if the single issues are still available at my local store. What else did you read?
I read Legion, kinda. I skimmed Legion. Yeah, I skimmed it, and honestly, the art is spectacular. It's super pretty. It is such a gorgeous looking book. Like even just flipping through it now, because it has Riley Rossmo, and his stuff is just gorgeous art. Very expressive.
He's such a unique artist. Yeah.
Yeah, I love his style. I think I really want to read Martian Manhunter, and it works really well with Bendis too.
That looks great.
Yeah, Bendis loves massive splash pages. Yeah. So it's a very, very dynamic art that kind of fits with the hyperactiveness of Bendis's writing. So it goes really well together.
I like that. Huh.
Yeah, and then what else? Superman versus Imperious Lex.
How was that? Yeah, I almost picked that up. I really thought about it.
I'm shocked you didn't, Hunter.
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
it was good, but like it was very, very on the nose, and not necessarily in a bad way, but like I would say like with how I would put politics in comics is add just a little bit more like nuance to it, you know, just to not make it as on the nose. Like I thought what King did with Adam Strange, if you don't necessarily know the history of like the Iraq War and stuff, you wouldn't necessarily get that one-to-one connection. But with the Imperious Lex, it was like Lex Luthor controls people with like propaganda and fake news, and it's just like, okay, I get what you're doing. This isn't as clever as you think it is. No matter like what the viewpoint is, it was still like, it was written fine. It was a nice enough story. Lex was leading a planet, and Superman went and like lasered their factory. And so like all the people there like didn't have jobs for the economy. And so then Lex Luthor beat up Superman, and all the people were like, yeah, kill him. And then like Lex Luthor realized like none of his people like are going to be able to work now for some reason. And so now Superman wants them like United Planets, and it's like, okay, whatever, you know. I picked it up because I was seeing reviews of people saying like 9.5 out of 10. This is the best Future State title. It is amazing. Yeah, and that's why I was so surprised when I was reading it, because I was like, this is too on the nose to be like a 9.5 out of 10. Yeah. You know, that I was so, and that's why I was kind of, I think I was. Mm-hmm.
In the second issue, we're gonna have Superman buying all the GameStop stock, and Imperious Lex being like, no.
He's gonna say, here is why we shouldn't allow Superman access to Robin Hood's markets.
It's like maybe it's a little on the nose to just write it directly. Okay, maybe not.
Yeah, and then the only other Future State book I read was Dark Detective, and that was, again, awesome.
I read that. That was good. It's probably my second favorite, if not Justice League is. The art is so good. It's so interesting.
I love Dan Mora.
Yeah, and just the storyline of like Bruce.
Once in Future, read Once in Future if you like Dan Mora. Oh, it's so
I want to read Klaus too. I hear Klaus is really good.
Oh, good.
Is Once in Future the one with the sword?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I will read it eventually because I love the art in Dark Detective so much. Just the storyline of Bruce Wayne on the run and like don't use phones, don't drink the water, like it's just being so preoccupied with things to the fact that he's just kind of going insane in a way. And then all this is happening in like a Blade Runner type city. Like that's, even though it's Gotham, it's so good, and it makes me sad that we technically won't see it continue.
Yeah. I'm happy it's 4 issues, and it's long enough so that it feels like it will. I'm interested to see how they're gonna like do this in trade. Like, is it just gonna be like a trade of Dark Detective with like the like tag on stories on the end, or just individual stories? But I feel like you said, it's really cool seeing Bruce just kind of in this like primal just survival mode, you know?
Yeah.
Where he's just like survive, you know, just like running through, smashing stuff. It's a really, really fun read. There was a Williamson story too with Red Hood at the end of this issue.
I read that
was
as
pretty
well.
Cool. Yeah. I didn't think it was as good as the Grifter story.
No.
But I still thought it was pretty cool.
It was good. Ravager was written a little strange.
Yeah.
Like, she was very quippy and very like, hey, let's just kill people. And Red Hood's like, well, maybe we shouldn't kill innocent. She's like, that's their fault for, you know, living. Like, it was a little like, this is good, I guess. It's interesting seeing that with all the Gotham Centra, like all the Batman type books all around the same era of like how the police are very much just controlling Gotham in a bad way. And out of all these characters, Red Hood is working with them. I like that because it's very out of character for him. But it seems like Jason Todd himself is uncomfortable with the idea.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I'm really excited for the next phase of Future State, because that's when a lot of these stories I think are going to start to really get good. In some aspects. I don't really think there's really anything Flash. It seems like what's going to happen with Flash is he's just going to like kill Wally. I think that's kind of what's going to Teen Titans like alluded to, right?
Make me kill you.
Yeah, like it's just like hopefully the next round of Future State books I think will be getting a little bit more not interesting, but like that punch that the first ones I would say kind of missed, because there were some books in the first wave that kind of missed the emotional punch that they needed.
Definitely. Some of them were kind of disappointing, like Green Lantern I found was
I didn't read that. How was that?
The Jessica Cruz story was really good, but the Guy Gardner I didn't like at all. A lot of followers messaged me when I said I didn't like it on the podcast saying, what, you didn't like it? I didn't. John Stewart, I think most people agree that it just was very boring. It was about John Stewart fighting an alien war, but he wasn't using his ring, so it didn't feel like a Green Lantern book at all. So yeah, rather boring in a way. I am kind of looking forward to the upcoming Green Lantern comic after Future State because of the art. So, and I like the idea of how they're actually going to develop.
Yeah, it's going to be Dexter Soy on that Green Lantern.
So excited. I'm so excited.
I don't like Teen Lantern as a character, but the fact that they're using her in a way where like we got to find out where the hell she got this gauntlet, that's good. That's actually good.
I like the idea that the writer is using of like, there's this character and it's new and there's not really much that can be done to develop it. So I might as well just develop this character and put my imprint on it. Because you look at like Teen Lantern and that like handoff versus a character like Wallace, which has just been in like character hell essentially, where he doesn't really do anything, you know, doesn't like in most future stories, he just dies. Like that's his role. which is really unfortunate because he's a really cool character. But he's just kind of like the stand-in for like something bad needs to happen. It's just gonna happen to Wallace, you know.
Which is a shame because his like first introduction was we saw him in the silver suit from the future. So it feels like when you're doing these future stories, you may as well do Wallace in that silver suit, but instead you're just saying, he died off panel.
Yeah, that's what, and it's so like disrespectful too, because I feel like Wallace was such a what the character, like the character history itself has had to go through. It's very weird because it's like you already know why they brought him up, because it was very much like that diversity push. And it is kind of unfair to create that character, but then people like the characters, he can't just take it away. And so you do kind of owe it to the fans that liked that because of your move as a corporation to flesh out that character, make him more likable and that type of stuff. So it's very weird that at like every opportunity, they're just willing to like offhand into a book like Teen Titans, or even in like Deceased, like Tom Taylor gives him like 2 lines, you know? It's like, what? Why is nobody capitalizing on this?
And even Williamson's run, although he was used, it was mostly after the eventual argument early on in his run. He was just that character that ran around with Avery. That was it. Every time there was a big fight scene.
And it felt like Williamson was setting something with the Sins of Father story that he told, which was interesting, the 2 issues. And then I felt like they were building a Daniel West, which would have been a good Wallace story, which I think could still be told.
Yeah, I thought they did like the first 30 issues of Williamson's run was really cool. Oh, okay, Siri.
She figured as much too. She's a big fan of Williamson's Flash.
Yeah, I thought I thought the first 30 issues did a good job of like setting up that relationship. But then I agree, is like once it kind of got to Flash War, it just like fell apart, and then he never like did anything to pick it up, and which is fine because I thought, okay, he's offhanding it to Teen Titans. But then they didn't do anything either. It was just a lot of the same
Adam
stuff.
Glass was like,
and I like the Adam Glass run, but in terms of Wallace's development and like those characters in general, it just wasn't the story those characters necessarily needed to get more popular, you know?
Definitely. Yeah. Wallace has a lot of potential for future arcs. I feel like. So I hope the next writer uses him somewhat. Don't just throw him on the Teen Titans and call it a day. Like, do something, even if it means making him no longer Kid Flash. I'm okay with that. Give him the silver suit and give him a new name. Have him be a different character or different role, I should say, for the Flash in general. Just the Flash.
Yeah, there's a ton of different, and what's really frustrating with like the Flash and Future State especially is there's a ton of really cool scientific aspects you can play into with physics and how it plays with the characters and what the characters could do just by just daydreaming about it, you know? And so like even the character like Max Mercury and Wally just barely touches the surface of like what you can do with like spirituality, but then something also with like Morrison, the teleportation and how fast is an instant and stuff like that. Like there's really cool, expansive stories you can tell. And we just keep reverting it down to just like Wallace is sad, the fast people are angry, like very menial stuff. It's very frustrating.
Flash lost his powers.
Like it's and it's like really like this is, and it's not even, it's funny because I don't think most people really are angry in the same way they were about Heroes in Crisis because they know Future State doesn't really matter. But everyone's just like, why? Like you have the option to do whatever you want. And this was just like, this was the story you wanted everyone to like associate you with. This was the
and if Heroes in Crisis didn't exist, then you could maybe see like, all right, it's something that's maybe more original. But like Heroes in Crisis just came out.
You saw the reaction, you know. The King, as much as King may not publicly post it, he definitely was reading the comments. You know, the other DC writers were seeing the reaction. So it was so crazy that it was like that was what you wanted to do. It was just it's a very weird thing because you can see DC have like these very weird corporate instincts of like, we need more Batman because we need to pump up sales, right? But then not necessarily asking like, well, why are our sales so bad? You know, it's never the like, maybe we should write a Flash, like we could do another Flash book that would get incredibly popular sales if you just got a good writer. You know, it's not really that hard, and it's so weird that they're not necessarily willing to do that, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, you have I think it's 16 Batman books coming out. 3 Superman books, 2 Wonder Woman books, and the rest of the characters just have 1 or none. There's no Aquaman book coming out. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is this, and that's what's so odd is it's like, even if the Batman books are going to be good, is anybody going to want that? Like,
yeah,
what is the like thought process there at the corporate table of like do they think there's going to be a person that goes into a store and is like, I want all 15 Batman titles? It's crazy.
Literally. Yeah, exactly. You want a few. I'm going to be getting a few. Like I plan on reading Batman. I'm thinking about Detective Comics, Batcat. That's probably it.
I'm probably just sticking like Batcat and like maybe Detective Comics.
Yeah, if you count the Batman, like the Bat Family characters,
Nightwing, Chip, Batman, and Robin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, fuck. See, and that's what it's like. There's so much that I don't feel like spending my money on that they keep.
The Chip Batman book is like $7.99 an issue. Oh my god.
And that's what. So that's another really interesting way that you can tell that they're doing that, because these anthology books where they're able to slap a bunch of other writers together, they're just jacking up the price. Yeah. Very smart business stuff, but it's like
stonks.
It's I see you, DC.
Yeah. I just rather sacrifice some of those Batman books for maybe another Flash book, another Green Lantern book, or an actual Aquaman ongoing. Why are we not getting that? That's so weird to me. A Green Arrow book again. It's just,
isn't it weird that they said Green Arrow was like gonna get a book like very soon after his Rebirth run ended, and then it's like now it's been like 3 years later.
Yeah, he's gonna be on the Justice League, thankfully, leading the Justice League.
But like they were saying like his book, like I remember that was Dan Didio's thing when Green Arrow Rebirth ended. He was like, oh yeah, don't worry, Green Arrow is going to be in a new book very soon, like he'll be in his own thing again, like we're not worried about him, like it's not sales or anything, we like him as a character, he'll have his own book. And I was like, oh okay, even though I didn't read the book, I was like, oh okay, he'll be back. And just that never happened.
Oh, you didn't read Green Arrow?
I read the beginning of Rebirth, the Percy run.
Oh, it's so good.
After that,
that was great. Yeah, I like that.
The Percy run's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Percy does not like technology. He did the same arc on Nightwing.
Yeah, with like technology taking the smart city, which is a good idea, but he did it twice. So a little odd. Is that all the comics of the week?
Yeah, I think so.
We did it.
A lot of comics.
Woohoo. Yeah, that's the end of the episode. That actually came really quick. I don't know why. That felt like a flow. But yeah. All right. If you're listening on YouTube, subscribe, like that shit. If you're listening on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, like, I don't know, whatever, follow, subscribe. You guys know the whole bit. And if you're listening, you follow. If you've listened to this much of the podcast, I gotta think that you're already kind of like following. So I'm not worried.
Please
about
subscribe. Subscribe to our YouTube.
Hunter has to work. Hunter has to work in a Canadian sweatshop till 2 a.m. working on these YouTube videos. So please make his time worth it by giving a subscription, because he is dying over here. Even if
I'm chained up in an igloo.
Yeah, he's chained up in an igloo with nothing but non-Tim Hortons coffee to torture him.
Exactly. It's the worst. I need my Timmies, man. Just real quick.
You thought Timmy's wouldn't get mentioned on this episode, and here it is.
Real quick.
Make sure to vote for Strong Guy.
Yep, vote Strong Guy. Quick little shout outs real quick. If you didn't hear, last week we interviewed Gavin, writer and creator of Spider-Man Lotus, writer, director, and creator. Is that his line?
How to save a life. Sorry.
Yeah. So he was on last week where we talked all about Spider-Man Lotus. On our YouTube channel, we also have a separate video if you just want to watch the interview. It's up almost 800 views. Thank you for...
Gavin is good for views. Business is booming when Gavin's around.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know what it is.
That man carries dedicated followers. I respect it.
He really
does. It's like when Avi Evrad in 2007 was like, the kids love Venom, the kids love Gavin.
Exactly. Yeah, kids, like, thank you for watching that. And if you haven't watched it, go increase those views, give a nice comment, whatever. If you're watching this, give a nice comment too. Caleb, do you want to plug anything?
Follow me on Instagram @ComicSavior. Yeah, pretty much it. Thank you guys for having me on.
Listen, Caleb is the most dedicated when it comes to posting panels because he is always on that. I mean, I feel like it's like you don't miss a beat when it comes to panels.
Yeah,
and like
it's
always it's always a great variety of like what you're reading too, and there's always a good song paired to it. So it's a good follow overall. You got to check out Caleb. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Well,
thanks for being on
the show again when Harper's on. Too.
That'll be fun.
You get to experience Stan and Mark Ruffalo in person.
Yeah.
But all right, yeah, that's it for Hero Story. For Hero Story, I'm JD.
I'm Hunter, and thanks for being a hero.
And remember, every second is a gift. Goodbye.
What?